we think of air conditioning, we automatically think of comfort cooling. And when we think of our ancestor Homo erectus over 750,000 years ago, we know that he applied his wits to building and sustaining a heat fire. There are charred remains of ancient campfires to prove it, and so began the long, slow, pre-science evolution of technology to provide indoor comfort, first heating and later ventilation and cooling. Almost every industry in our everyday lives depend upon air conditioning. It is difficult to imagine supermarkets, hotels, and hospitals without air conditioning. Today's data centers power everything from video streaming to social networking and email, and contain thousands of computers generating large amounts of heat. There are many indications that our ancestors enjoyed comfort cooling just as much as we do today. Archaeologists studying ruins of the ancient civilizations in the Indus River Valley, dating back to 2600 BCE, have noted that cities were orientated in order to catch prevailing winds and provide a natural form of cooling. In 1772, Thomas Jefferson built Monticello to include passive cooling, incorporating large, operable windows that could bring in cool mountain breezes. A book published in 1556 by a German scientist, Georgius Agricola, catalogues the methods of ventilating mine shafts by means of manpower and horsepower. Fires were used in vertical shafts to create upward drafts to pull vitiated air from the mines, and bellows were used to pump air into especially foul tunnels. This technique was applied to only the most extreme conditions, where miserable air quality would render working conditions crippling or sometimes even lethal. The first air-conditioned building in the world was Westminster Abbey, England in 1620, and that owes its credit to natural ice. The inventor was Cornelius Drebbel, a Dutch-born artisan engineer and alchemist. Although Drebbel left no documented accounts of how he achieved this cooling effect, historians believe he got several large mason jars, filled them with natural ice, which he would have harvested the previous winter. He then added salt to the jars of ice, which lowered the temperature at which ice melts. Using a handheld fan, he blew the warm room air over the jars containing the ice and salt mixture, resulting in the ambient air cooling down by as much as 20 degrees. Had Drebbel written up his great stunt, he might have went down in history as the inventor of the first air conditioning system, yet it would be almost 3 centuries before this idea would eventually take off. Experiments in the 18th century regarding the virtues of providing fresh air into public buildings gave rise to the invention of the first man-powered centrifugal fan, followed soon after by the invention of the electric centrifugal fan. In 1748, William Cullen invented the first mechanical refrigeration system. The workings of your average refrigerator are quite simple, and essentially the same principle applies to residential, commercial, and industrial refrigeration systems in modern-day times. One only has to understand 2 general concepts: that by compressing or expanding a gas, you can raise or lower its temperature, and that heat only flows in one direction, from hot to cold. Although the technology of refrigeration had been developed, it would not be applied for almost another 200 years. The natural ice industry of the United States came into being due to the vision of one individual, Frederick Tudor of Boston, or the Ice King as he became known. Tudor saw dollar signs in the pristine rivers and lakes of New England, and began shipping tons of ice halfway around the globe, including the West Indies, the Caribbean, and across the United States. With the availability of ice year-round, households in America and across the world saw the introduction of the refrigerator or icebox. In the late 1800s, New York's Madison Square Garden and theaters across the country were using ice to cool patrons at evening summer performances. Fresh air was filtered through a cheesecloth bag filled with ice. Using a centrifugal fan, it was supplied directly into the theater. This technology, although popular, was rudimentary and encountered several complications, resulting in the need for a specialized engineering society. the result being the organization of the American Society of Heating and Ventilation Engineers in 1894. On July 17, 1902, Willis Carrier engineered the world's first air conditioning system, launching an industry that would fundamentally improve the way we live, work, and play. During the Great Depression, movie theaters saw an opportunity in the innovations that were being made with mechanical refrigeration, and patrons flocked to air-conditioned theaters to see their favorite movie and to stay cool. Hollywood's golden age began around the same time, and many consider this not to be a coincidence. The southern tier of the United States population exploded from 28% in 1950 to 40% in 2000. This was primarily due to the evolution of air conditioning and its unique ability to keep homes and workplaces cool. From the virtual clouds that host our seemingly endless need for data storage, to the bottom of the cold, deep ocean water, researchers at Microsoft have tested a prototype of a self-contained data center that can operate hundreds of feet below the surface of the ocean, eliminating one of the technology industry's most expensive problems, the air conditioning bill. Researchers have also developed technology that includes circulating cold, deep ocean water through a closed loop of pipes that replaces the coolant and compressor found in conventional air conditioning systems. Like many technologies, it is easy to sometimes underestimate their contributions to modern-day living and evolution. However, it cannot be overstated the indelible impact air conditioning has provided to the advancement of both comfort cooling and science and technology.